Thanks to the Talk Python team who sponsor this episode of the Engineered Mind podcast. If you want to learn Python and delve into exciting topics like data science, web development, or building apps, feel free to visit talkpython.fm/mind to find your next level and get a 10% discount. Also a big thank you to all my patrons who support the Engineered Mind podcast. Hi and welcome to the Engineered Mind podcast. In this podcast we cover topics such as engineering, artificial intelligence, neuroscience, and other interesting topics to educate, inspire, and engineer people's minds all around the world. I'm your host Joseph, and for this episode of the podcast I'm very happy to have Manuel Bruschi on my show. Manuel is the founder of the company Timeular, which empowers people to track their job routines to then analyze and design better ones that create more value for themselves and the people around them. They believe this will lead to a future where everyone has a rewarding job. In this podcast, Manuel and I talked about time management and productivity, how a time tracking cube can completely change your day-to-day life, the bottlenecks when starting a hardware company, as well as tips, tricks, and book recommendations from Manuel on time management and productivity. For updates on upcoming podcasts, projects, and videos, make sure to follow me on Twitter as well as on Instagram. To join my weekly newsletter engineeredmind.sh, where I share exclusive content, visit yusuf.substack.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's my podcast with Manuel Bruschi. Hi Manuel, welcome to my show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. And we both know that time is very precious, so I really appreciate you accepting my offer and invitation to be on the show.
Happy to do so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
What we want to start with is, can you give us like a 1-minute bio? Who is Manuel and what does he actually do?
Okay, so I'm Manuel. I'm the founder of Timeular. I'm Italian, living in the northern part of Italy. And I grew up here, but went for studying computer science in Austria. There I founded Timeular because I was working part-time web developer, part-time I was studying, and part-time I wanted to enjoy life. And so time management has always been very important to me. I ended up being a time management coach, developed HCI to measure mental stress. And somehow I got the idea for making time tracking much more simple because I tried all the solutions out there and was like, why I'm not using it? Why is it still so hard? I was losing money because I was not able to bill my clients. And so I thought I need something which is even more simple. I thought like of a big button where you can punch with a big hammer or something like that. But in the end, created like a prototype of the cube, which now you know, or some of you might know. So this is our product. Like, should I explain it shortly?
Yeah, you can explain it, but I also want to show off mine, of course, if people want to see it.
So yeah, you can assign an activity, project, or whatever you want to any side of it, and then you just flip it to what you're currently working, and it starts tracking what's on the top. Or if you don't want the physical device, there are other options like mobile device integrations, shortcuts, whatever you want. And the idea is like you track, understand, and improve your time management. And so, yeah, I'm the CEO of Timeular, 20 people, all working remote since 4 years, all over the globe. And here I am to tell you more about time management.
That's very exciting. I really enjoyed the topic, and also hopefully we'll delve into productivity and time management a little bit more now. Is one of the reasons your peers or your people are working remotely also related to time management? Because you don't spend time with commute and so on?
Yeah. One of the reasons is that. So definitely like you can structure your day much more in the way like you can perform best, and you can like bring work and life better together. Although it comes with some challenges, which we can talk about later. And the second one is like, I think the most important thing to build a successful company are people. And why should I limit ourselves to hire people only around from 100 kilometers if I can hire better people around the whole world?
Exactly. Yeah. Let us jump straight into the crispy topic, which is productivity. How would you define productivity in the first place?
Yeah, that's always a good question, because for me, productivity, it's not about squeezing yourself out like a lemon. It's much more about making sure that the return of investment, the ROI of your time is in balance with all your needs. And that you, like, it's not about making sure that every minute is perfect and super productive, but that the whole picture, like your whole day has been productive and has rewarded you and fulfilled all your benefits, because that's where real productivity, I think, happens.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see is the biggest misconception when it comes to productivity? I mean, you mentioned now the things of micromanagement, like scheduling every second of your life, I think, which is maybe counterproductive. What would you say? What are the biggest misconceptions?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we believe we can perform like machines, which we can't, because we have emotions, we have our lives, like we have a body which is not always 100% there. Not even athletes are 100% able to call their performance or recall their performance. So I think you should not have the ambition to be super productive all the time, every minute, because you're human. We are human beings.
Yeah. How do you balance being a human and also wanting to be super productive?
Yeah, that's a hard one. So this is where kind of like, I think we can get very close to it. Like, let's say 90% close to being like a machine, but the other 10% are not possible. And I think that you should know where you are right now. Like, am I recalling already the full performance? Do I believe this is it? Or do I believe there is room for more? And then kind of finding, okay, where are my productivity sinks? Where are my time sinks? Why am I sometimes performing on this task worse than other times? Like reflection. Mm-hmm. And then finding, okay, what are the times where I perform best? So for me, for example, I perform best in the morning. So all that work that requires a lot of brain power, I try to schedule all that stuff in the morning. Whereby, for example, meetings or all those little things are something which don't require so much brain power, but still my attention, I try to put them all together in the afternoon.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I also want to talk about meetings because this is also something where we scheduled our appointment for today's podcast. And you said, no, at this time I have a meeting-free day, which I really appreciate. I like the idea. How do you approach meetings in general? Do you think they are a waste of time? Probably not all of them. But how do you manage your time personally? How does a day of Manuel look like?
Yeah. Okay, so there are multiple things there. So how my day looks like is I start in the morning very early, usually 4, 5, 6, something around that. I don't have an alarm. I just wake up when I wake up, and then I start right away. And it's not something that I would say, like, to be super efficient, you have to wake up early. I think everyone needs to find their balance. Because, for example, back in the day when I was studying, I was working till late in the night, till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then the day look different. So I think it depends, and this can change. Everyone should find out themselves what's best. But yeah, after that block of proactive work where I really try to get the heavy, super important work done, so I as well feel better for the whole day, that lasts till 10 usually. And after that, I have a to-do list where I try to get as many things done, but then there is unplanned work coming, there are meetings scheduled, there are people in my company who need my attention. And so that's always kind of flexible, and I try to juggle it in the best way possible. And then as soon as I feel, okay, today it's enough, I just stop, because you could always keep going and going, but in the end of the day, like at some point you have to rest and recharge. And so how I think about meetings is, I think meetings are important, especially when you're working remote, because we are, again, human beings. We need social interaction. We need to recharge our social batteries. We need a little bit of face-to-face time. And of course, ideally, you should have a social life outside of work, but as well with your coworkers. Like having those social moments is important. So what we do at Timeular is we have meetings, but we try to keep them very efficient. So we always have an agenda. We are very, how should I say, very diligent when it comes to communication. So we let everyone speak, but we keep it short. We get to the point. We try to not talk around in circles all the time. And then someone at the end always sums up what is the outcome of the meeting, and we make sure that everyone knows how to move on from this meeting. We don't have too many recurring meetings and fixed meetings. So we have, for example, the all hands once a month, and then we have some social meetings like every 2 weeks where you are randomly put together in a room with 2 other people and you just chat whatever comes. It's like a water cooler chat. And then, strategic meeting once a week, just at the beginning of the week, like reflecting the past week and planning the next week. And that's it.
That makes absolute sense. Also want to ask you, where do you think are the biggest time wasters in general when it comes to when you talk about the general population? Where do you see like the biggest problems in terms of time management?
Well, like the whole population, I would say bureaucracy and commuting. Those are the 2 things that I think are, because they have no benefit for the individual. They are just a waste for time for the individual. They might have benefits either for the company because you are in the office, or for the government or whatever, for the regulations. But for you, immediately, those activities have no benefit. But then, generally speaking, like at work, I think the biggest time waste is communication. There is so much time that is wasted due to poor communication that I think it's incredible. And this is something that I highly recommend everyone to focus on.
How can you improve it?
The most simple exercise is like put yourself in the receiver's shoes. So there's always like communication sender and receiver. And one exercise that I try to recommend is like, if you're communicating something, like write it down, like communicating a task, like delegating something, write it down, and then put yourself in the user's or in the receiver's shoes and think like, just with this piece of information and a clear mind, like I have no other context, would I be able to execute this task? If not, what would I be missing? And so just becoming aware of, okay, actually, this time I forgot to mention this, and this, or I forgot to link to this and this information, or this and one. And then over time, you just become better. And another exercise you can do is like, or a similarity to this one is like, try to order something at McDonald's without any question back. That's almost impossible. They're always like, do you want big, small? Do you want with ketchup, without ketchup? Like giving all the information in once so they don't ask you one question back. And that's actually where you are a good communicator.
This is a good one. Yeah, I have to remember this next time I go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
How does you introduce us to the cube in the introduction? Can you explain how this device can help us by becoming better at time management?
Yeah. So first of all, the tracker is a physical reminder to track your time, because tracking time is a hard habit to build. Then it's very simple to do, like you just flip it. And this action of flip, it's like you're committing to something, not just with your brain, but with your hand, with a gesture. It's like a handshake with your time. Now I'm committing to this. And you have there a reminder which tells you, okay, I should be focusing on this right now. And as our eyes wander around on the desk, you always cross this reminder of, okay, this is actually what I should be focused on. And so in a playful way over the day, you get a very accurate overview where actually your time is going. Like on average, the length of time entries is like, by now, I think it's even down to 20 minutes. And so you see by 20 minutes chunks of time, you see actually where your time is going. And at the end of the day, week or month, it depends how much data you want to collect. You can actually then have a look at it and say, oh, I'm spending 30% of my time on this activity. Is it worth it? Is it worth it 30% of my time? And then with that information, like if yes, then okay. If no, then why not? And then there are 4 things I always recommend to do. first of all, the most attractive thing is like eliminate it. Like eliminating an activity, it's the best thing you can do. But obviously that's not always possible. If you can automate it, even better. Like, is it a recurring task that you do over and over and over, but it doesn't really require any manual or brain work, but it's just a manual checklist of things? Try to automate it. Then the third thing is like, is it something which is actually, well, not worth my time, and there is someone else who really enjoys doing this and should be doing it because that person is much better than I am, then delegate it. And the fourth thing is, if it's still something you should be doing, you are the best person doing it, can you optimize it in some way? Like, can you make it require just half the time? So those are the four things: eliminate it, automate it, delegate it, or optimize it.
Yeah, that's also something I try to live by. Let's see if I can optimize
it's
it.
Not that easy. It's not that easy, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah, definitely. Also, what I noticed is when you turn the cube and you work focused on a task, at some point the cube will tell you, do you want to take a break? How do you think about breaks, and when do you think someone should take a break? Are you a fan of the Pomodoro technique? Is it like 90 minutes? What would you say?
Well, there is no one answer fits all answer to this one. Everyone needs to find out what's their rhythm, and I think it depends a lot, like on the task itself, of the activity. Like, is it something which is super heavy brain work, or is it something light, heavy brain work? So I just find it out. I see Pomodoro works for many people, so maybe give it a try. But as well with Pomodoro, some use 25-minute blocks, some use 50 minutes blocks, some even use 90 minutes blocks. So you have to find it out. I, for myself, for example, in the morning, have longer blocks, and then later on, like, my context of work changes probably every 15 minutes up to every 30 minutes.
You said 15 minutes, right? 15 to 30 minutes, which is interesting because this is something else I also implemented recently. Because if you have a block of 15 minutes and then you have multiple of 15, for example, 4 times 15, then you have 1 hour. This is way easier, because if you have, let's say, you schedule a day in 25-minute blocks or 30-minute blocks, it would take you actually longer. For example, we have a call which takes 20 minutes and then you wait 10 minutes until the next 30-minute block would start. Then it's, I think, easier to have 15-minute blocks and everything scheduled in 15 minutes, which also avoids the danger of procrastinating, I guess.
Yeah, and coming back to breaks, I'm actually not that good at taking breaks. So I have, like, in the morning, then lunch and dinner, but in between it just comes how it comes. So I just try to pay attention to my energy level. And as soon as I think, okay, now I could be using a break, I take either a short one, or if I really need a longer one, I go for a walk outside.
Do you believe in work-life balance, first of all? Or is it like work-life choices? Some people say work-life balance is a myth.
I'm not a fan of the terminology because it puts work versus life. Yeah. But for me, work is an important part of life. And so, like, this terminology kind of splits the two, but actually for me they belong together, and it's about, like, how can I make them work together. So it's more like work leisure balance. So, and in that I truly believe, like, I think you need a break from your work just to recharge, but as well to get a fresh perspective. And I think most engineers can relate to that. So I've been a software engineer in the past. Is sometimes you just get stuck into the woods. And then if you go away for half an hour, and then you come back and you immediately figure out the solution just because you come back with a fresh perspective. And I think that's super important as well with math problems and everything else. Like, sometimes just go away from the problem, go away from all of it, come back with a fresh mind, fully recharged, and you will be much more productive and quicker.
Yeah, I like that, Manuel. The ideas or the tip is so useful, because I'm not sure who it was. I think it was Edison. And when he took a nap, he had keys in his hand, I think. And whenever the keys fell down, it would make some noise, and then he would wake up refreshed, and then something he would think about. Then maybe he has already the solution figured out because the keys fell down. He had a nap. So this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's for the power naps, right?
Exactly.
And as well, for example, taking walks. Einstein, he took many walks. Newton took many walks. I think even Edison took many walks. And the best ideas they had, at least they said so, came from those walks. Just going away, because the screen like puts our energy like fully on the screen and kind of, but going away from the screen is where the mind wanders around and starts connecting the dots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And as well, sleeping. Like sometimes you wake up and suddenly you have a solution for something, which I never understood why and how that happens, but it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a nice story as well. I maybe you know the mathematician Cédric Villani. I think that is his name. He won the Fields Medal, and actually, I think he was sleeping, and this was super hard math problem. You have to. I think he gave a TED talk on it, and then in the sleep he figured out how he has to solve the equation. Put this derivative on the left hand side, and then do this and this, and then he figured out the solution while he was sleeping. So his subconscious mind solved the equation in his sleep, which is like crazy.
Yeah, which is amazing. Like what our brain is capable like when sleeping.
Yeah, this is insane. When it comes to the tracker itself, about the functionalities, what can the tracker actually do? I mean, we covered tracking time, but you can also export the data, analyze the data. And what I really appreciate is after every week, it would send you an email with a chart of where you spend your time on, which is sometimes a bit frustrating when you see, okay, that's how much time I spent on, I don't know, watching videos or so.
Yeah, on the one hand, it's frustrating, but on the other hand, like it's good to have this honest feedback, because then you know and you can do something about it or not.
Yeah.
So and this is what Timeular is all about. Like there are many features in there. So but the main benefit is like you understand where your time is going. You can dive really deep into your data and analyze it from different perspectives, different correlations, different charts, and as well this personal report that we send you on Monday always. Mm-hmm. And then you can set goals, which is something that we are, for example, working on, like to give you the ability to create more granular goals. And with all that information, like week over week, you can improve your productivity and you can improve your balance. And ultimately, the goal is that you live a more healthy and rewarding work life.
Yeah. Also, before we had the meeting, fortunately, you said yes to our podcast meeting, but you also mentioned something like saying no. And there's a nice sentence, nice quote which says, saying no to someone else is a yes to yourself. How do you see that?
Yeah, I completely agree on that. So saying no to something is saying yes to many other things. So I say that because many people say like, oh, saying no is harsh. But actually, when you say yes, you're saying no to many other things.
Yeah.
So actually, it's even worse. So you should, when it's a yes, you should be really sure. It should be a hell yes. I want to do this. I want to do this podcast. I want to do this activity.
Yeah.
I want to have this meeting. If you kind of like, you are just doing it because you want to be polite and you don't want to say no, then you're actually probably doing yourself nothing good, but as well many other people nothing good, because then you will not be able to spend that time with someone who probably needs it more than you, or an activity that needs it more than you.
Absolutely. We want to maybe jump to time management at the later point, but I also want to talk about, because you are a hardware company and you're a software engineer in your heart, how difficult is it when it comes to entrepreneurship? Raising money? I mean, when you have the best leverage existing in the world is code. You basically can write code and deploy it. This is quite easy. But why did you decide to go for a hardware company, and how hard is it is actually to raise money for a hardware company?
Yeah. So yes, it's fantastic what you can get off the ground just with software. You can write. You just need a notebook, you write code, you publish it, and you can actually already make money with that, just with your time, which is great. But I truly believe that the solution to get into the habit to tracking your time is through hardware, because it's much more easier, it's much more natural, it makes time tangible. Yeah. And that's why we opted for this solution. But yeah, as you mentioned, like hardware has some challenges. So you need much more capital to get started and when scaling, because like you need to produce everything. You need to get all the certifications, you need to get all the regulations, and you need to prototype many things and test it and develop as well the PCB, which of course costs as well money. So you need that to get off the ground. And then afterwards, like you need to pay the production always in advance. And so you need money to scale. That's why many companies, for example, Jawbone or many others like failed because they were not able to have their working capital, it's called, to keep going. And then you have twice the complexity because you're not building just one product, because no hardware today, or almost no hardware, works without software. So you need to build two great products, basically, like a hardware product and software product. And the iteration cycles on hardware are much longer. It's not like software, oh, we fucked up this view, let's just change the code, ship it, fixed. No, with hardware, if you make a mistake, it's very expensive, because then you need to go back to the drawing board, production, probably through certification. Then you have already 10,000 devices out there. Either you call them back or you just keep it going. And then it takes you will ship the new version only after those 10,000, or you throw them away, which is a lot of waste. So yeah, long story short, comes with challenges. We thought this is the solution, so we kept going anyway. And then we said, okay, but we need money. So we had two options, raising VC money and crowdfunding. And we said we will go for both, because doing crowdfunding is a market validation, which is great if you go fundraising, because then no VC can say well, will this work? Well, look, there are already 5,000 people who put money on the table before actually seeing the product, not knowing if we are ever going to ship it. So there is a market there. And this is how we raised. So we did the Kickstarter campaign with 300,000 euro. We planned 70,000, but yeah, ended up great. And that for the VCs, for the early stage VC, what was a great sign and proof of concept. And so it was an immediate yes. But after that, yeah, it's hard, because investors are always scared of hardware, because they have seen so many big companies fail.
Yeah. And I mean, you already have 50,000 customers all over the world, which are satisfied and happy. So I think this is a proof that it works and that people are actually happy.
Yeah, totally. And we keep going, we keep scaling, and we will probably fundraise again to move a little bit faster.
Yeah, and you also have other products planned, I guess?
Well, not real other products, so we just keep going this way. So what Timeular will do is, now we are much more focused on the software, and mostly helping you to get better, more accurate insights and knowledge to improve your time management. And we will just keep iterating and improving the product based on that. Our goal is to create the all-in-one solution to track, understand, and improve your time management. And potentially, in the future, I can see ourselves put more things in relation, because time, that's the beautiful thing, time surrounds everything. So you could put the relation, or create the relation between your health data and time, your mood data and time, your sleep data and time. So I don't know where it's going, but yeah, there are many opportunities there.
Yeah, that's interesting. For example, having an app on your phone probably tracking your sleep activity and so on, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, for example, if you just need to think, when in the morning you are not that productive, just ask yourself, how did I sleep today? Because probably you didn't recharge your batteries, you didn't sleep well. And then obviously if you start from 60% of your performance, you can't expect yourself to perform at 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Yeah, maybe, do we have anything planned to bring AI in, whatever that AI might look like? If it's like a machine learning model or anything like that.
You mean a few if-else lines of code? No, just kidding. Of course, it will be there in the one way or the other. This is something that my investors are not always happy, because I'm not that good at jumping on the train and selling we are creating AI. So, because being an engineer myself, and as all engineers, we always try to be very honest and very critical to the things that we do. And so there is some AI in our app already, if you talk like with the masses. But for an engineer, like, what is AI? So yeah, we will do something, but I don't know yet what it is.
Okay.
Like, what's the real AI?
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to see what you will ship in the future for sure. Could you also walk us through the pricing model, because there are different models you offer for the cube?
Yeah. So the first choice you need to make is like, do I want the cube or not? So because we have a software only plans or plans that include the tracker. So if you want just a software solution where you have, for example, one shortcut, Command E, which allows you to track out from any app with one shortcut. If that's fine for you, if you love shortcuts, you're kind of a fan of Superhuman, go for that plan. And this is either you can use the free version or the pro version. The pro version includes integrations, for example, Zapier, Jira, and many others. It includes like this Monday report with personalized insights on your time management behaviors. It includes the ability to create multiple goals in the future. And those are the three main things, I would say. Oh, and more advanced analytics and charts. Forgot that. And the second thing is like, okay, and if you want to go for the tracker, which is this one, again, as a reminder, we have, again, the basic version, which has all that it's not included in the Pro for $89. And otherwise, you can choose. Do you want to pay monthly, yearly, or lifetime? And for that, we have different prices.
Yeah, and I will, of course, put the link to your product down in the description so that people can check it out.
Yeah.
I already had friends. We had a meeting in Zoom, and I showed them the cube, and they said, "Hey, what is this? Can you track your time?" Cool. And then I sent them the link, and they were very interested. Let's say you talk to a friend who has absolutely no idea of where to get started with time management. What resources or books, or even maybe if you use a Mac, what apps would you recommend to them to get started to be more aware of their time management? That have been multiple questions now at once, but maybe start with an app.
Yeah.
What apps do you use personally?
So what I use apps is Better Touch Tool, it's called, which allows me kind of on the touchpad to like quickly snap things to the left, to the right, on the top, and those things. Then a Flux is something that at night kind of changes the colors of the screen, so I'm not getting tired so quickly. Todoist is something that I use for to-do management. I really like that. Notion is something for knowledge management and note-taking. And other than that, I think it's a lot about removing distractions, like disabling notifications, disabling like everything that can distract me. I use the do not disturb mode on the phone a lot. So till 9 or 10 in the morning, it's always on do not disturb. And other than that, to get started with time management, the first thing I would start is, what do I actually want to achieve? What do I want to spend more time on? And then, okay, this is what I want to spend more time on. This is what I'm spending time on right now. So have a look at your data. And then how can I shift more from here to here? And for books, I can recommend this one, Hyperfocus by Chris Bailey.
It's funny that I have it already in my cart on Amazon. I just have to click order.
Yeah.
You also have to make time and Atomic Habits. I see it, yeah.
Yeah, and this one, I would recommend that this as the next one is another one which I would recommend.
Awesome, great. Anything else from your side, Manuel, that you want to tell the audience, which is very important and they should know?
Well, you can reach out to me on mb@timeular.com or on Twitter. Like, my DMs are open. And yeah, it's all there, timeular.com. I think it will be in the YouTube description down below the video. And if you need help or question, I will try to be helpful.
Awesome. And I hope maybe there will be a second part in the future where we delve a little bit more deeper into productivity theory, where we only can talk about productivity and how one can structure their day.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's do that.
I appreciate it. This was a very productive podcast. Manuel, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
Bye-bye.